Hosting the #1 team in the nation is always a challenge. Mix in a shakeup at offensive coordinator and 2 untested backups being thrown into the fire at the QB position, and well, things weren't looking good for the Orange heading into the Florida State matchup. As you can see here, Florida State got off to a quick start. First drive of the game, 12-yard run by Mario Pender. FSU leads 7-0. Now, Syracuse, second possession of the game, settled for a 21-yard field goal by Cole Murphy. That gets them on the board, but they still trail 10-3. 4 minutes left in the second quarter. FSU, 21-yard touchdown pass from Winston to Nick O'Leary, giving them the 24-6 lead. And moving on to the second half, more of the same. 7-yard pass from Winston to Jesus Wilson to give them a lead 31-6. But the bright spot for Syracuse was A.J. Long. Here he is with 6 minutes left in the third quarter. 22-yard pass to Steve Ishmael. 2 freshmen connecting there, and FSU, though, still has a 31-13 lead. Now 10 minutes left in the fourth. Long's second touchdown of the game. This one 35 yards, and once again to Ishmael. But it was too little too late for the Orange. You can see the Long-Ishmael connection was working all day. This is a 35-yard first down conversion from the first half that put SU in the red zone at the end of the second quarter. But it wasn't enough today as Syracuse falls to Florida State 38-20. Ron Schultz has more on the breakout performance of the freshman class. And now we welcome in men's soccer beat reporter JP Chunga. And JP, this team has looked really good so far, undefeated at this point in the season, and a lot of that has to do with midfielder Julian Boucher. What have you seen from the freshmen so far that's impressed you?
I've seen a German who's good at soccer. What a surprise.
While the hockey season technically started last night with the Kings hoisting the Stanley Cup banner, New York's hockey teams will be in action for the first time tonight. The Sabres open their season at home against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Buffalo finished last season with just 52 points, 14 lower than any other team in the NHL. On the other side of the spectrum, the Rangers begin their Eastern Conference Championship defense at the St. Louis Blues. Ever since the graduation of 2-time All-American goalie John Galloway in 2011, the situation in net hasn't been the most stable. No starting goalkeeper has been able to keep his job throughout a season. Can senior Bobby Wardwell become the first? Well, Coach Desko has named him the starter, but he'll certainly have some competition. Kevin Case has more. So, SU is sure it will take the field on Saturday, but the Bills game on Sunday is nowhere near certain. Today, the NFL announced that Sunday's game will not be played in Buffalo after this week's snowstorms have dropped over 6 feet on Ralph Wilson Stadium. The Jets and Bills are still discussing options for a potential relocation of the game. Detroit, Pittsburgh, and Washington, D.C. have been floated as options. It takes about 3 days to remove 1 foot of snow from the stadium, which means the Bills will also be hard-pressed to have things ready for their next home game on November 30th. Now I'm joined by our reporter, Jay Alter, who was at the game. And Jay, let's go ahead and start with the atmosphere. Biggest crowd of the season for the Orange. Kept them in the game in this one.
Yeah, Dome was absolutely rocking in this one.
So maybe football couldn't beat Duke on Saturday. That's okay. The men's soccer team was poised for a bit of revenge on Sunday. After a double overtime win over BC last week, the Orange took over the #1 ranking, just in time for the start of the tournament. And the first opponent in the ACC tournament, none other than the Blue Devils. Syracuse getting ready to welcome Duke to the Hill in front of a record crowd today. The boys getting set, excited for this one. Now, 8 minutes into the first half, Nick Perea scores, but ruled offside, so it's still 0-0. Don't worry, though, he'd have another chance later in this one. Then just 2 minutes later, Alex Hallis says, "That's okay. You couldn't get on the board, but I'll take care of it." Assist by Julian Boucher, giving SU the 1-0 lead early on. Now, half hour into the first half, Bryson Asher runs down the field, but Bono, doing what he's been doing all season, dives to make the stop, keeping it at 1-0 SU. And then just 3 minutes later, there it is, Nick Perea gets to try again, and this time it's good, giving Syracuse the 2-0 lead. And that would be all the Orange would need to take home the win. Bono excited about the shutout, doing what he's been doing all season long. JP Chunga has more from SU Soccer Stadium.